everybody? Welcome to the Pound for Pound Show, episode number 28. My name is Philip, and joining me, as always, are Russ and Ben. How are you gentlemen doing on this hot summer day?
Very good.
Fantastic.
Happy to be back.
Yep.
Good. You're always happy to be back. So
Yeah.
Always.
Every time we come back is like Connor returning. Connor's returning. The P4P guys are returning.
yeah,
It's always a long break.
I don't know that we're drawing quite that type of crowd yet. You know, we're
Yeah.
we're like co-main eventers at this point. Maybe
That's-
not.
We're
true.
trending up. He's trending down. So we're going to meet somewhere in the middle.
There we go. That's true. So he's
Very true.
He's doing us. He's going to meet us. So we feel good about that. So we appreciate that. So,
Yeah.
But I guess, that's a great transition. We're going to start by recapping that fight and that card. So everybody probably knows by now how that one finished up, kind of a disappointing finish with an injury, but I'll throw it over to Ben first, and then I'll throw it over, and then Ben, you throw it to Russ. Kind of give me your thoughts on the fight, how it went down, and what you guys saw.
It was a good fight up until the ankle break or whatever it was, the shin, the tibia, whatever it was. Dustin was looking good. He some say he had a 10-8 round the first round. I didn't know if it was a 10-8, but I think it would have been a close fight would it have continued. But Connor had some underlying issues. I guess. I mean, as far as his team says, and the UFC says, and his coaches say, but there's like a new excuse every day. Now it's like arthritis or something. And those memes that say like Connor or what motivated Connor undefeated, like unbroken ankle Connor undefeated. And now I'm seeing a non-arthritis Connor undefeated. So, but yeah, unfortunate incident. Connor didn't handle it too well with all the smack talk after the fight. He should have just handled his loss with class, but I think he's just frustrated because his recent track record isn't too good. He's lost his last 4 or 5, something along those lines. So I think he's just very frustrated, and the class kind of goes out the window when he gets frustrated. So, but good on Dustin. Dustin earned that title shot. It's going to be him versus Oliveira. Cannot wait for that. Yeah, but that's all I have to say about that. Yeah. What do you think, Russ?
It was a heartbreaking way to see Connor lose. Like the leg snapping like that and him just falling backwards was just so sad to see, because when they stood up, I thought maybe he gets to the second round and like he can start to turn this around a little bit. I didn't think it was 10-8. I thought it was 10-9. I thought he was landing some shots from the bottom and was doing okay when they were standing, but just the before and after were very disappointing for and this coming from like a big Connor fan. Like I didn't like it. I didn't like it wasn't good trash talk. It wasn't even creative like he usually is. He's usually so creative and says great stuff. This time it was just annoying talking about Dustin's wife and then afterwards. And now like the different excuses every day are starting to like rival Deontay Wilder, like in like
Yeah.
how many stupid excuses you can come up with. I just never seen a fall like this. I don't think like from somebody like so high up. And then he's won one in what, like 5 years now? Like he just keeps losing and in devastating fashion. I don't really buy that it was broken or fractured before. I think like, he wouldn't have been able to train, and come into the fight and like, he was fine for the first 2 minutes. Then whatever check happened, you know what I mean? Because they showed multiple things where they think it could have happened. Like one hit Dustin's elbow, one hit his leg super hard. It could have broken any of those times. And it's just a freak accident. It's just sad that it had to happen to him. But, I don't know that we're going to see him ever like reach near the peak again. Like I think a Diaz fight is left and maybe win and get out like on a win. I don't think we should see him competing with the top dudes anymore at 155.
That's another thing. Yeah. You mentioned the Diaz fight. That's the fight that makes the most sense for him. But the people that are saying he should retire, what is he, only 31, 32? He still can beat 90% of the guys in the lightweight division. So the people that are saying he should retire, F off.
I still think he's great. And I think like it deserves like a ton of credit to be like, they said the highest earning athlete of the entire last year and still get into the cage. That takes like serious balls and like, just a fighter mentality. Like most people wouldn't do that. Like you have that much money, you could retire happily and just live on a yacht, but he's still getting in there. So he deserves credit for that. But it's just, he's not beating these dudes, and he's not taking, he's in the UFC where it's just notorious. There's no easy fights to take in between. They're just going to give him killer after killer. Like I said it before this one, shouldn't fight Poirier right away again after a KO loss. Like Poirier's too good. Yeah. Fight Diego or somebody where like you can get like some sort of warm-up fight. It can't just be killer after killer after killer.
Yeah, you make a good point, but his pride, I think, is just too big. He thinks he's the greatest in the world still, and he could beat these guys on any given night, but he's not. He's not, and he won't take an easy fight. So
he could, but ring rust is a real thing, and like, you know, we could foreshadow into the Dillashaw fight. Like you cannot miss that much time and then fight top dudes. It's just that's tough. That's tough.
Very tough
to ask.
He cannot take a step back though. You know how Conor's mind works. He can't fight an easy fight. With the exception of the Cerrone fight, and that was
it's a combination of his mind and the UFC being how they do things. You know, if it was boxing, he would fight you know, some sort of contender where he's like a 8-1 or 9-1 favorite. He wouldn't be fighting, you know,
an even fight. Yeah,
champions and number one contenders and undefeated dudes. Like it's a frustrating way to see his career wind down, but I don't think we're going to see him like put together any 5-fight win streak and regain a title.
Yeah, no way. I think we've seen his best years, but what do you think, Phil?
Yeah, it was interesting, you know, kind of like touch base on the fight first. You know, I agree with you, but I don't know that I think it was a 10-8 round, but Dustin was definitely very in control of that fight. I hear a lot of people saying that, you know, it was probably a best case scenario for him to get out like with that injury. I don't think breaking your leg is ever a best case scenario. I think that's just stupid.
Yeah, I agree when I heard that.
But yeah, I was like, I thought that was stupid, but like, I don't think it was, you know, it was going nowhere but downhill for him after that. If they go out for another round, it was probably more of the same for him. And you know, like, I don't know, to Russ's point, like, I just don't think he was going to beat Dustin. You know, it wasn't the right fight, but it was the second highest selling pay-per-view in UFC history. So they would probably argue that it was the right fight, regardless of the result. So, you know, and I think that that's kind of where we're at now, is figuring out what's next. Cause he's got another real long layoff where he wasn't in great, you know, his prime form. And it's going to be at least a year till we see him again, you know, and then what makes sense for him then, you know, like throw him in there with another killer, or do you give him,
what else blew my mind is right after the fight at the post conference, Dana's saying like Poirier Conor 4 is probably going to happen because like this was indecisive. And I was like, oh my God, like, are we going to do this again? Like, granted, it was indecisive that his leg broke, but like the first round was pretty decisive and the knockout before was pretty decisive.
Right. Like there's no way, like they'll have to think better of that. Like, you know, like, especially because the reality is that like, he is still a major draw regardless. You could have him fight, you know, Steve from the third row and it's going to sell X amount of pay-per-views, but he's got to get some momentum back because every loss hurts that mystique a little bit, you know, even if they're not great fights. Like, remember, like, he beat up Cerrone again. I love Donald, so I'm not trying to say anything bad about him, but like, he was kind of like beating up his dad. And then like, all it took was that one win and people came out, Connor's back. He's invincible, Mystic Mac. And I'm like, he beat up an old man. Come on, you know? But like, I think that's what they need to do again. That goes double for like the length of this layoff. You know, he's going to be even rustier. Like they're going to have to put him in there. You know, like I said, I think there's big money fights and I think there's tune-up fights, but I'm like you guys in UFC. Like, I don't know really anybody who like came to the top and had like that long of a fall and then could turn it around and get back to the top again. Like, I don't know that it's ever happened.
No, not on that level, at least not on that level.
So, you know, I don't want to like, you know, like I'm with you guys, like, especially with the amount of pay-per-views he sells, I don't see any way that he retires unless he personally is like, it ain't worth it anymore. But to Ben's point, like, I think he's going to want to come back and go out on a win and not be remembered. Because it was an interesting stat. Like, if you count the boxing match in his, like, since he won the belt, he's 3-5 and he's been stopped 4 times. Yeah. So that's not super impressive. That's, you know, not like, that's like a Fedor end to your career. Like, I'm certain that's not how he wants to go out. So I'm sure You know, if it were me, I'd have him come back and put an absolute ham and egger in there so Conor could go out and steamroll him in a couple minutes. And then I'd book, the Diaz fight because that'll draw 90 zillion pay-per-view buys. And, if he can manage to beat Nate, maybe you could get him to fight Nick, and just have just book him in some big money fights. Maybe have him fight Jorge at 170 or something. Who knows? There's, anything that's a big money fight. But yeah, I don't know that throwing him in there, against an Oliveira, a Michael Chandler, a Dustin, I don't like his chances. And, and especially because he hasn't shown that he's improved in the areas like his wrestling and things like that. I just don't know that he can compete at the top level anymore.
No, I'd agree with a lot of what you said, Phil. He can't.
Yeah.
He can't. It's money fights.
The people love to see him, so they're going to keep bringing as long as he's willing to
he's
come
still
back.
By far the top draw, but it's just a matter of if he wants to do it. It's
Right.
just I think even if mentally he wants to do it, physically I can't imagine when you're the richest man in combat sports that you're training as hard as these dudes that are grinding. It's
Right.
just
Hungry. Yeah.
hard to imagine that's happening.
Yeah, that's a good analogy. He's full, and these young guys are hungry. So, it's just the way it is. It's natural.
Agreed. And then, and again, I think, we kind of touched on what's next and everything. And I guess the only thing that I would say I don't want to say in defense of Conor because, his actions were pretty scummy. We'll put it that way. But I think one of the things did he go over the line? Yeah. But, Conor has always been a salesman, and I'm sure that, sitting there with a broken leg, he knew he had to do something to generate some interest because, so can you really be that mad at him? Definitely over the line, definitely not the classiest move, but I don't know. I don't know that I was as upset as everybody else. Shouldn't say you're going to kill someone in their sleep or their family.
Yeah.
But
yeah,
you also have to give someone a little bit of break when they're laying there with a broken leg and you go up and jam a microphone in someone's face. Probably should have just let him be.
I hate that. Yeah.
Yeah.
That's so stupid.
Yeah. It was, again, and they've done it numerous times. And I'm, remember when they interviewed Alistair after he just got knocked out. And then Rogan is what are you saying? And he's I probably have a concussion, man. Leave me alone.
Yeah.
Get off my back.
Yeah, exactly.
So, definitely not the right move. And, but again, yeah, where do you go? It's tough when you've created that almost aura of invincibility and, it's tough, it's hard to just come out and be I got beat up twice by the same guy. What am I going to do?
Actually now that we were talking about who else is left for him, Tony Ferguson would be a nice fight for him.
That would be a great fight.
I think that's an excellent. So I read that somewhere and I was oh, that's a perfect idea because both guys' career is right in the same spot, really.
Trajectory,
They're both definitely on the downturn.
And they're both absolute madmen. So imagine the press conferences for those two lunatics.
They'll have to have extra security. There's no chance a fight doesn't break out at the presser.
Yeah, that would be actually fun.
It's a good fight.
And then they'll both, and they'll get in the cage and they'll start just winging them at each other. So, it'll be one that probably won't go long.
Or Conor could finally give RDA that shot. That would be a good fight.
Yeah.
I don't think that's the right fight for I agree, but I think RDA just would grind him into dust.
Maybe
that's not the fight. Right. I think maybe in due time, but RDA is a big, strong dude.
I am aware of that. Yeah.
Yeah. That's
be a fun fight though. But let's talk about that card this weekend, man.
Yeah. Speaking of exciting fights, man, we got Sandhagen against the returning TJ Dillashaw. I don't see, how you could book a much more exciting fight. Yeah. It's got that written all over it. So, but before I give my thoughts, I'll throw it over to Russ. You can go first this time and then kick it over to Ben. Kind of what do you want to see and how do you expect to see this fight go down?
Well, like you just said, this is the most exciting non-title fight in recent memory. This is so good of a fight. TJ returning after 2.5 years off it's going to be great to see him. I love TJ so much. I love watching him fight. He was on fire, prior to the Cejudo loss, which he shouldn't have even really been in there at that weight. That weight cut was just way too extreme. It was proven that he was taking, EPO to get down there.
Right.
And I like that, like, his other wins were kind of legitimized because they said USADA like tested his previous tests and they all came back clean because they keep all that stuff on file. So I thought that was pretty cool. The destructions of Cody
that's
and
interesting.
Barao all came back clean. So that's good.
Yeah. So yeah, and that's what, and one of the things, and sorry, I don't mean to interrupt, but that,
No.
like I'm usually harder on people who fail tests than everybody else. But TJ, he's like, yeah, I cheated. He's like, I needed it. It's that simple. Like, I'm not making excuses. I didn't take dick pills. I didn't take a shady supplement. Like, I cheated. I had to get to 125. What do you want me to do?
He 100% came clean. I feel like that's kind of why, like, it's kind of passing by pretty easily for him. It's like he had to take the time off, but still, it's not like that's like a focal point of him now. It's like TJ was awesome before and he's going to be awesome now, we think. The thing was, everybody was saying, like, if it was EPO, then he was probably on stuff all the previous ones. So when I heard like they went back and did all his tests and they were all clean, I was pretty amazed because they definitely said EPO is not like a gateway performance enhancer, but whatever that dude had him on in the garage, man, got him down to that weight just long enough to get KO'd.
Right.
Yeah. Crazy.
But
man.
yeah, I'm super excited about the fight. Nobody could be more on fire than Sandhagen, probably in the whole company. Like, his last 2 knockouts are video game knockouts.
KO of the year. Either one of them.
Both ridiculous, ruined Mariah and Edgar. I think, like I've said so many times, I would like a warm-up fight. I don't like that TJ's coming back from a 2.5-year layoff, even and going against a dude that's on fire, just annihilating people. I think Corey's probably going to win, and I could see him knocking TJ out. It's just too long of a layoff to come in against a killer like that. The only thing that I do like is that they trained together quite a bit, like years ago. So hopefully TJ knows, like, his style very well and can adjust, and hopefully he knows what happened in practice. Cause I've heard people from the team like say Corey handled him pretty well in practice. And then I've heard other people say TJ handled him every time. So I don't know who to believe, but
right.
I think Cody Garbrandt has reason for saying Sandhagen handled him because he freaking hates TJ. So I can't really
not a reliable source, that one.
Yeah, I can't really believe him too much, but I think it's going to be a great fight. TJ's amazing, and I think if TJ were to win this fight and then go and win the title, it'd be one of the greatest comebacks like in UFC history. It'd be amazing,
It truly
come
would.
back from that suspension, win against Sandhagen, and then beat Aljo, the champ. It'd be pretty awesome.
That would be amazing. Yeah,
the champ Aljo.
That's the bummer, is the winner of this fight isn't getting an immediate title shot.
I know. I was joking just to get a reaction out of you. I understand that Aljo is a paper champ at best, and it's going to be Jan down the road.
Right.
But yeah, I'm super excited for the fight. I think Sandhagen might prove to be a little too much after this long of a layoff, but I'm absolutely hoping TJ wins in spectacular fashion.
Yeah, I don't have much to say on it because I agree with you. Mostly everything you said, Russ. I think, that's exactly it. TJ's been off for 2.5 years. That's a very long time in the fight game. Corey's been on fire, and he's arguably the hottest fighter right now. Save for that Aljo, you could call it an upset. That happens maybe 1 or 2, maybe 2 times out of 10. That Aljo sub on Sandhagen.
I definitely think it was a fluke. It was so quick, like it happened very suddenly, and we've seen no weakness from him besides that one fluke. Like, it got snapped on.
And he's been training that, and he's probably like filled that hole in his game since. So I'm gonna go with Sandhagen. I think he gets it done by knockout. I think it's kind of like punishment for TJ. That's what I think the UFC is doing because 2.5 years to come back against a killer like that is just is insane. And then it always seems like your first fight back after you get caught or you're off of suspension, off of the juice, say your first fight back everyone seems to have a rough time, and then they start going uphill and it get a little bit better. But I think we're going to see a rough night for TJ and Sandhagen getting his arm raised. What do you think, Phil?
Yeah, it's interesting because, I agree with you guys about the layoff. The one thing that really is interesting is TJ. He doesn't use it all that much, but TJ is a great wrestler. And Sandhagen has come out. His exact words was, "My wrestling sucks." But Sandhagen is real long and does a really good job, because that was my thought. I was like, Edgar, has really done a great job with that in the past, controlling people with his wrestling. And Sandhagen obviously had an answer for that. So I think it's going to be interesting to see how TJ game plans for this fight, because TJ will get into a firefight with anybody, as he's proven. But if he can he utilize his wrestling, or is Sandhagen be able to keep him at bay? Because he's much longer than TJ, because TJ is real short. So yeah, it's going to be real interesting. But I think TJ, as the old saying goes, that I use all the time, has more tools in the toolbox. But is he going to be his best after being this laid off? But I'm going to go with TJ, just because I'm such a fan, and I just think he's so good, and I like, again, to Russ's point, I don't think it was just because he was on EPOs. He smashed a lot of really good fighters.
He
and I think
altered their careers. He turned around their careers.
He derailed Cody for life.
Yeah, he didn't just beat dudes; he changed their lives.
Yeah, absolutely. And I think if we get the best TJ, I think he's just going to be too much for Sandhagen. But again, with that left, will I be surprised if Sandhagen knocked him out? Not at all. So I'm not saying that with infinite level of confidence. I just think that when he's at his best, no one at 135 beats TJ.
I agree with that. 100%. I think prime TJ at bantamweight, I'd take against anybody in UFC history. He's that good, but I just don't know that we're going to get
that's
prime TJ. That's the big question.
He's if anybody, a dominant cruise level guy, TJ trains like an absolute animal. So, it'll be interesting to see. So
be a really fun fight. Two top elite fighters.
No way we'll be disappointed. So
nope. But best bets.
I've only got one for this week, because
you've got one.
Card is not really the card is not great, So I'm going.
It's going to be put the house on Dillashaw.
Absolutely not. I'm not even giving a pick on that, because I freaking keep betting with my heart, like I did with Conor last time, knowing full well I was probably losing, and it happened. And I'm not doing it again, because I want TJ to win very much, but I don't feel great about it. So I'm just not. That's a no bet. And for the previous pay-per-view, I was 0-3. So that shows you what some good research can do. Ryan Hall got smoked, and then Wonder Boy, just a boring fight, the loss, and then McGregor took the L. So 0-3, pretty solid picks there. This coming week, I'm taking Miranda Maverick versus Macy Barber. She's -165. I just think she's a better fighter and hotter. Not better looking. I'm saying
yeah,
in terms of wins and losses.
I do. I think she's better.
Macy's lost her last two, I believe. Right? Yeah, and I think she's a little more hype than she's actually worth. And Miranda Maverick actually seems worthy of the hype. So
yeah,
-165 seems
Plus,
like
you're just hyped on.
I love that pick,
Miranda Maverick. So
yeah,
that's like a wrestling name. That's a gimmick.
It's a good wrestling name, and Maverick is one of my favorite movies as well. So
yeah.
How
do you not love that?
I love a gambling poker movie.
Yeah, how could
I love that pick?
So
that's great. Okay,
but yeah,
I know you do, but you don't love that pick financially. You just love it because you want to see Macy Barber lose.
100%. I hate her. Yeah,
that's Ben. I don't have anything really against her that much.
Yeah, I strongly dislike her, and I like Miranda Maverick. So cool.
Cool. Anything else you boys want to cover before we get to it?
I think that's it for me. I mean, there's nothing too exciting going on in Bellator or boxing this week.
No, it's pretty uneventful. So
or Triller. There's nothing going on. So
nope. We just got the one
UFC
card.
Cool. Well, everybody, enjoy the fights. I hope you guys love them. I would expect that main event to be an absolute rager. So looking for a super fun fight. We'll be back to recap it when it's over. So until then, guys, have a good one. We'll see you guys.
Thanks for watching.